Alright, welcome to Game 2 of the NeutralKotic versus Ridal Round 2 matchup in the League of Inadequate Gamers. In our first matchup, we saw an excellent cannon rush performed by NeutralKotic. And now up for Round 2, we'll see how the psychological taxation on Ridal, how that's working out. We got we got NeutralKotic in the top right and Ridal in the bottom right of Backwater Gulch, and some interesting talk. I don't know if I'd call it trash talk.
Yeah, a little bit of mistyping on both their parts. The first map, I mean, we saw that early aggression come out of NeutralKotic. Is that something you think he's going to try again, or maybe go back to more of a standard macro play?
It's certainly something we've been talking as general Protoss strategy that we both need to work on, is that early aggression. I think Josh tends to take those lessons pretty well, so I wouldn't be surprised. I sincerely doubt we're going to see another cannon rush, but...
Yeah, I mean, even if you got a couple of units out, you know, a couple of Zealots and a Stalker, I mean, there's no reason you can't poke a little with that and see what you can get with it.
Certainly, in the last match we saw the potency of the Stalkers, as 4 or 5 of them dropped a tank in just a very short amount of time.
Looks like we got Richard going for a gas opening, which is a bit interesting. He's going to be tucking up to something here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see on a slightly larger map like this maybe some Banshee Harass or some other type of play from Richard.
Yeah, I don't think a Banshee Harass or Blue Flame Hellion or just Hellions just in general would be very good. I mean, both if you can get drop in, the main is very open, so it really help those
Things.
Yes, things.
Things of the stuff.
The cars.
The cars.
Yes.
The Hellions.
Yes, the Hellions.
Alright, and so far pretty standard opening. Nothing unusual. I don't know what to comment on this early in the game. He's already got the double gas, though. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be... Yep, and the factory is incoming. So he's either going for Hellion or Banshee. And looks like Josh has just got his standard opening. Probably see a cybernetics core up here in a second.
He supplied and blocked himself for a second there, and I think he's actually running a little slower than typical. Maybe just a few misclicks going on there. Certainly the adrenaline in these games can mess you up, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
He has an SCV with a kill already.
That would be from Josh's first scout, probably.
Yeah, I like this though. He's sending out a second probe on the tower, just to give him a heads up on kind of when stuff is coming.
Oh, and there it is. The starport is coming in right now, so I believe we're going to see some Banshee Harass or some kind of drop strategy, which is probably the way, since Josh is going a bit more conventional, not go well for him.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a Banshee play. He's got that tech lab and he's floating away the factory.
Scouting factory.
So he's going to take that starport, throw it on the tech lab, and probably get cloaked for those Banshees as well.
Absolutely. And Richard told me about this before, where you have to build a factory to get the starport, and then if you're not going to use it, you just scout with it.
Yeah, it's very useful. I'm not quite sure why he's going out to the left. Has he not actually scouted and found out where his opponent is yet?
I can't change the camera view because of the banner, so you have to check.
He has not. So he actually has no clue. Oh.
And now Josh put a pylon there.
But Richard didn't end up seeing that.
Oh, I see. Josh is thinking of using this as his proxy pylon position for warpins. He's also got second base going up fairly early. Before almost anything, he's got 1 gateway and 1 cybernetics core, and that's about it.
He's going to have to hopefully get a robo bay here in a second. So if I'm not mistaken, that's the only way Protoss is going to be able to see his cloaked unit.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you get some cannons, but that would require a forge, and it looks like he's just going... Oh. Okay, he has a robo bay coming down, or facility, so that's good.
Cloak is almost done. He's already got 1 Banshee out, but hopefully he brings out that Observer first and can catch this before it's too detrimental to his economy.
Well, bringing out an Observer first is not always the standard play from Protoss players either, so certainly if he doesn't get it out immediately. Let's hope he see how the reaction time plays out.
Yeah, he does have a pylon that's right in Richard's natural, and that might actually help him scout these Banshees before they get in his base.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. So the question is whether he, is looking at the right spot, the right time, and reacts appropriately, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, and an observer is coming out, so that is really going to pay off for Josh.
It's actually a bit detrimental for Richard. His whole strategy kind of is focused on Josh not knowing about these Banshees and kind of surprising him, and then having Cloak in addition to that. And none of that's going to go his way this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, the wrong way.
Yeah, and of course, Richard doesn't know where Josh is yet. Though, actually, I know the Banshees accidentally attacked that pylon real quick. I don't know if Josh managed to see the Banshees or not. If he did, he'll keep the observer close by, and if he didn't, it will head off somewhere else, I suppose.
Well, I have a feeling he might keep it around his base, especially because it's not going to get too far before these Banshees are coming in.
And certainly the Banshees we see right now are hovering right by the natural, and they are moving in cloaked. And so now that observer, where is the observer?
The observer is actually over top of the army, and Richard is not going to be able to use these very effectively.
Oh wow, that was a good read by Josh, and excellent positioning of his army in preparation for that attack.
Yeah, and Josh even throws down a cannon in his main so that he doesn't have to run that observer back and forth.
Very intelligent play out of Josh, and we also see a second observer coming in, and just really good reactions, I suppose.
Yeah, he's got a solid play right now, and if he can make sure to keep these Banshees away from his probes, it's he's going to have a better economy here soon.
Yep, as we see in the income tab, Josh is up to 30 harvesters, whereas Richard only has 24 on a single base. So as it stands right now, as long as Josh can fend off these harassment attacks, he's probably going to be in a pretty good position.
If you take a look down at Richard's natural, you'll actually see that there's the proxy pylon is still there, and it's actually blocking his expansion. So Richard's going to have to get this taken out quite fast. He's got a Marauder coming to deal with it right now.
Once again, we see Josh just doing these little things in advance, and they seem to be nagging on Richard. So
yeah, I mean, any time you can delay an expansion is always helpful. I mean, it's just a smart thing to do, and he seems to be all over the place.
And the Banshees got in while the Stalkers were away and managed to pick off a few probes that time, though Josh in return got one of the Banshees out of the game.
Yeah, it looks like Richard actually does have 12 kills. Yep, 12 kills on that last Banshee that just went down.
Wow, so they have been doing pretty successful harassment. It's just not the level you would expect from that kind of a sneak harass attack.
Yeah, but if we do know, Richard is actually up on probes now, so I guess some of that must have paid off, and his economy is slightly better if he can get that base up and running real fast here. They're going to at least be on equal footing.
Absolutely, and with all that, well, Josh has been making a fairly large amount of Stalkers, which he's now moving out. And let's see. Richard only has 2 Thors and a handful of Marines and Marauders, so I'm not sure how this will play out.
He's got to cancel that hatchery and get everything back, and hopefully he can fend this off. I'm not quite sure why he went so many Vikings. He didn't really see anything that would make him go that route. I'm not quite sure why those units are in the mix.
Oh, and this fight did not go Josh's way. He was not able to get up on the high ground or get rid of the wall quick enough.
No, that's one of the things that Terran has done very well.
And now the scouting factory has made its move.
And I think one thing important here to notice is Josh actually doesn't know about the other expansion of Richard, so he actually put it in a wise spot right there.
Which in fact Josh could quite easily destroy right now, I would say.
Yeah, most definitely.
Only the 2 Thors being able to make a quick response to that. And actually one thing I did not notice was in the meantime Josh put down a robotics bay. He was researching the Colossus thermal lance and is pumping out, or not just another observer, but will, by all appearances, will be having a Colossus coming out shortly.
Which is a bit odd. I mean, he saw that Richard had those Vikings already up, and that's really the counter to Colossus for Terran. Seems like Richard almost preemptively built those, and then Josh kind of fell into the trap. So
yeah, I'm not sure how this one's going to play out for Josh with going Colossus. The Vikings are certainly going to play a big role in that, whether he leaves them in ground or air, and the number of stalkers, of course.
I think one thing here to notice is Chaotic really doesn't have any sentries, which I think would really help his army composition right now.
I would certainly agree with that, especially when you're dealing with a lot of ranged units. But one thing to note also is just if you're feeling the tension in these games, sentries are just like 5 more things to think about, it seems.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Oh, looks like Richard's gonna... Oh, maybe not.
And Josh's first Colossus is just now finishing and rallied to the army, and he's also pumping out upgrades. And Richard is not, well, he's got 4 Marauders coming in, another medevac, but I don't see any major developments as far as his army composition goes.
It really doesn't need it. I mean, if he can get the greater size, he's already got the Vikings to take out the Colossus if that ever comes into play.
It's actually just now joining the army with the second one about halfway done. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I guess Richard is going to go for the outproducing in the MMM ball with some Vikings. And
one thing to note, if you'll take a look at the top left... Oh, never mind. It looks like we have an army engagement here.
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
The Vikings should try to pick off that Colossus, but it doesn't seem like there's enough. But NeutralKotic just didn't have a good position, kind of attacking into that concave there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the extended thermal lance working its magic right now, just way in the back, and with the observer there to spot the high ground.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he ended up landing that Viking. He would have had better to try to pick it off. The Colossus, that is.
And I think Josh may have taken the advantage here. He's got 4 more Stalkers joining and a Colossus. I thought there was a Colossus on the way. Oh, it stopped on the ridge. He hasn't noticed it yet. But it looks like he lost his Colossus but destroyed Richard's army except for 2 Marauders and pulled back.
I'm not quite sure why he's pulling back. I mean, he definitely has the greater army force. He's got the observer sitting in there. And I guess he's just trying to warm up another force. But to be honest, Richard doesn't have enough.
I think one of the things Josh is concerned about right now is his observer got picked off in the fray, and he might be concerned about more cloaked things.
Well, he actually has an observer sitting in the lower right near Richard's right side gas.
Oh, now I see.
And his force is quite a bit greater. He's just going to have to kind of...
And there he picked off one of the barracks, but, I mean, Richard still has 4 of those. And
observer.
I'm not entirely sure what's going on. This is some pretty intense back and forth right now.
Yeah, Richard's definitely going for a heavy Marauder, since all we're seeing out of NeutralKotic is the Stalkers.
We also see Richard's first Thor is about to finish, and that is going to present a very serious problem. And some sentries coming in for Josh too now, which, as you recommended.
Well, the Thor is actually in the top left position, which was what I was going to mention before the last battle. It's kind of away from the army, but if he can get that in and do some damage to the economy, he'll at least force NeutralKotic to bring his army back.
Yeah, the only question is whether the one Thor, or I guess there will be 2 shortly, can, bring it down before Josh's army can wreak any serious havoc.
I'm not quite sure if this is a great thing to do here by NeutralKotic. I mean, he is getting a lot of SCV kills, but he's taking a lot of damage on those Stalkers.
Certainly one thing I would think to do now would be to get Blink for the Stalkers so that, you can take care of those threats on the high ground to your Colossi. But still, you can't deny the fact that that severely limits Josh's army, or income, I should say. Or Richard's income.
Yeah, his income's sitting at 0 right now. He doesn't have any minerals in his main, so he is literally tapped out for money-wise. So all NeutralKotic really has to do is just sit tight and keep producing
There's
hits.
2 more Colossi joining. I don't really see how Richard's going to come out of this one.
No, I think the big downfall of this
There it
thing was
is.
the Thors in the top left and not with this main army.
Yeah, I agree. But another excellent match. Great back and forth. And we'll see you guys for Game 3.